and welcome to the new episode of the Tracksuit podcast. Today we have Bryan Koss, a director of photography that is super talented and has done multiple films of mine. We have worked together on movies like Fortress, Survive the Game, Hot Seat, and The Workout. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Great to be here.
Good to have you here.
So I see you're sporting a very nice tracksuit. Did you have this prior to getting booked for the show, or did you just do this for the show?
I'm not going to lie. I felt like this got delivered before I even ordered it. It's very fresh, right off of the truck. It fits great. I like it. I might keep it. Even though I already applied for the return, I might keep it.
Already applied for the return? It's a very lifestyle choice. Probably Amazon then?
Yeah.
You can get this tracksuit I'm wearing on Amazon as well. Link will be below.
You also can get this one on Amazon as well. And it's like, what can Brown do for you? Thank you.
So anyways, Bryan, we have collaborated on a lot of movies. We've had some pretty intense wars to get these films done in the time frames that we had. I mean, what on Hot Seat, we had to do the movie in 7 days. How as a DP did you approach something like that?
You know, James, it comes down to preparation.
We did prep together for a month and a half in New Mexico in Las Cruces.
Yep.
We were definitely on the same page. You spent 4 days explaining to me your Matterport and how much you wanted to use it.
And it worked out well.
It did.
Wait,
Yeah.
you guys shot Hot Seat the whole movie in 7 days?
The entire film was shot in 7 days.
What?
The Mel Gibson.
We prepped
Hot
for
Seat.
300,
Yeah.
but we shot it in 7.
Execution.
Holy
But
shit.
no, we had to shoot in 7 days. But how do you approach that? Because realistically, you know, people ask me, how do I do a movie as quickly as I did? Because Hot Seat was 7 days. We did 10 days on The Fortress and 9 days on Survive the Game. And realistically, everybody keeps going, how did you do that? And I go, well, you know, actors were prepared, this or that. But it really comes down to the preparation that we did together to make the movie and having a DP that is able to actually get a crew to move that fast. You had done this before I had worked with you. I'd never done something that fast. How did you come up with a methodology to move that quickly?
Well, the methodology comes down to the 7 Ps, and that's proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And while we only had enough time to do about 3 of those, we got it done. No, it starts with the location. The location is a major character. Can we move and groove inside this location and hit all 85 scenes, 100 scenes, whatever it is? Are there some scenes that are going to be at night? That could be a problem.
We had some 25-page days.
We had some big days. We had some big names. We had, we have a crazy schedule. We got a lot going against us. But again, you get strong department heads, and from there, you hire a strong crew all the way down from tip to tail, and you go through the script, and you go through the beats, and you look at the spaces. Where can we tell this best for the story, and where can we tell this beat efficiently and effectively?
Yeah.
Knowing we have very little time.
There's no time for really thought or error. Everything has to be so in sync from the moment we get on set. Like, that's why preparedness was so important, because there wasn't time for conversation. I had to talk to the actors, and I had to know that you were going to execute the plan. And so, I think finding that sync was so important, but also, being approached with something like that. Were you scared at all, or were you just like, no, we got this? Because I was fucking scared.
No, it's intimidating. But
7 days.
I think when I got brought on, it was like, hey, we're doing this film. We're doing it in 12 days, and it gets a little bit closer to lift off. And hey, we're doing this in 10. And then you land and get off the plane, like, hey, we're doing it in 9. You get to the hotel, like, we're actually going to do it in 8 days, and we're scouting tonight. And so I didn't know it was going to be 7 days. I don't think you did. I think it kept kind of shrinking. But again, we're filmmakers, and we can rise to the occasion. And I had done it before, not that fast and not this big a scope, because there was some action. There was a lot of
big actors. We had big personalities.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson, Kevin Dillon, Shannon Doherty.
You just have to go through step by step, figure it out. We need to know exactly what's going to happen before we're there, and we have to assume, even though Art hasn't done this room yet, or the props aren't here yet, or this or that, or we haven't completely seen the blocking, we still have to
imagine
have
what
that vision and imagine what it's going to be like, and
have an in sync vision with each other.
Have to be in sync, and it's got to be so dialed in that we know what's going to happen, because no matter what, once we get there, something will happen, and it will shift the course. It's like, Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Mhm.
And you're going to get punched in the face
But if you remember,
multiple times a day.
in prep, me and you had an A plan, a B plan, and a C plan. Like we had,
And we
our
went with the D plan.
yeah, we went with
It
the
was
D
a
plan.
great
Yeah,
plan.
we had our, but we would have a shot list, very extensive shot list of how everything needed to be. You showed me you needed to be able to put stuff out of the windows to shoot light in, to keep the light going inside that building and have those giant, cherry pickers or whatever we were using to do that. I don't know if we really had condors, did we? Or I don't know. Weird.
I think we had an assistant named Condor, but that's about it.
Yeah, but to be able to do that, we had to have like a plan to avoid those windows in all of the blocking, because that's where you were going to do most of your lighting from. And so, and I remember I said there was one scene that we really had to go to the window when Mel was there, and you explained to me how difficult it would be to dance stuff around. And that's one of the only times where we were like, all right, well, we'll fix it in post. They're going to have to fucking VFX out
However,
those condors.
You get there and you realize
Yeah.
Mel might want to go to the window.
Yeah, that's why we said it had to be there, because I
He's
knew
gonna
he
wanna
was
go to the
going to,
window.
and he did.
He wants
He
to find
wanted
light.
to be
He's
by that
smart.
window.
He gets
yeah.
it. And again, he's thinking story.
Exactly.
Even that
He's going to want to look down, see everything, assess the situation because of where he's in. It made sense. So we had to adapt to that, and we had a plan to adapt to that. And I think that, that was
that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
It's
part of the magic.
High stress, part of the magic, but working with
Mel was wonderful to work with as well, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, working with people and trusting other people on the set. You trusting me trusting you, us trusting art, us trusting the camera department, the makeup department, wardrobe, everybody, production, everybody. You have to have the trust. You have to let people do their thing, stay in the lane, and constantly communicate when things look like they might be shifting this way or that. Keep an eye on the wind.
Well, it's trial by fire. The funniest thing is when a movie's moving that quickly, you actually legitimately don't have time to not trust that it's going to be, what you believe it's going to be. You say, hey, this is the plan, this is what we're doing, and you have to believe that they are going to execute it the way you've said.
Well, shout out to Hot Seat, because we were literally on a cruise, my partner and I, right after you guys got done with that movie, which I never knew was filmed in that many days. But we were on the cruise, and Hot Seat was number 2 movie on the entire cruise, right behind Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp. For some reason, that movie had been out for years.
So, and that's how Brian afforded this tracksuit today. Those residuals from that.
Residuals paid off. That's awesome. How did you start in the cinematography game, or did you start there?
I went to film school for a year at the LA Film School. Shout out. That was a great experience. Got out in 07, fall of 07. And from there, I worked as a PA for about 2 or 3 years, and they were all kind of bigger budget commercials. And even though I was in charge of picking up the trash and driving the trucks in the middle of the night and picking up all this stuff and all that, I was still paying attention to all these people that were at the top of their game. I mean, I remember one of the DPs was Darius Kanji.
Wow.
Incredible DP, but he was shooting this Cox Communications commercial, and I was the PA, and I got to bring him coffee, and that was a big deal. But I mean, back then I was always switching the radio to channel 6, channel 7, channel 8, and just kind of understanding, what are they talking about? Why are they doing this? What are they doing?
Did you know you wanted to be a DP at that time?
I've always liked photography.
Over being a director or something like that.
Again, I think when everyone starts out, they all want to be a director, and that's great, and that's cool. But in film school, I was just like, I understand the camera part more than I understand the writing part. And so I just, I did a little bit of directing, but mostly, concentrated on cinematography.
He still semi-directs a little bit, because he'll send me, when he's wanting to pitch a scene, like on the workout, when he's wanting to pitch how a scene's shot, he just sends me a short film he's filmed with some random friend that has nothing to do with my movie, but it's like, this is how it'll be shot.
Mm-hmm. And
that's a test if you're going to watch what I'm going to send you.
Oh yeah, because I got that set. Remember where it's like, it's just you and him loading things into the truck, and then he walks in, and you're like,
that was a great scene. That was a great scene.
And then it's like, walking over here, and he's like, this is how we're going to shoot this, right? And I was like, what is this, Brian?
Was this text meant for me?
We've talked multiple times about you being a director, because we were like, man, I bet Brian would just be great as a director, because you, and I will not mention movies names, but there is movies that I've worked with you on where if it wasn't for you for that day walking me through how you wanted me to make things work, it would work for you on these long ass shots that we had to do. And if it wasn't for you probably directing me through that, I never would have
Well, again,
that
that's
stuff.
not me necessarily directing, but again, as the camera operator, the person that is in the front of the battle lines and talent, it's like I am the extension of the director, of the cinematographer. In that case, I was the cinematographer and the Steadicam operator. But I needed you to do certain things, knowing what I needed to see in the frame at certain moments, and then that caused. I think there's a wonder that we were doing around this old movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be dark, and so we can only put lights in certain spots, and so the shadows were going to fall a certain way, and we needed to see the glint in your eyes, and so it was intricate. And I do remember that day. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and we nailed it. I think we got it in 2 or 3 takes.
We nailed it, and it was
fun.
And I never knew how much work it was on you having those Steadicams in your hand, where you have to like make sure that everybody's walking you back through things, tight little areas that they can bump.
But
things,
BJ, the thing is, it's when you're doing that, and in that moment, there that day, it doesn't feel like work.
No, that's fun. Yeah, that's fun.
That's what's awesome. That's why.
awesome.
I mean, one of my favorite shots in any of my movies that I've ever directed was shot by Bryan, and it was him as a Steadicam op. It was on Fortress, and it's the one when Sidarius...
Kitchen?
Yeah, the kitchen, where Sidarius is going through all the different areas and clearing out the rooms and then throws the bomb and blows it up. And we did that, I think, like 15 times, but that wasn't because of the camera work. It was because like the stunts weren't hitting the right way, but when they finally landed, it was like perfect. There was like little glitches, but once it happened, it was like so perfect, and it was just such a badass sequence.
And you come this far, you're like, no, we're not going to settle for something that doesn't look like how we know it can look.
Exactly.
And it takes so many people to put that together.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to, we allotted enough time in that day. I don't know how many days it was. But
it was a 10-day shoot, so we sacrificed a good amount of time on something that we thought was very important, but it's still one of my favorite, sequences in any movie I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Action wise, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a really cool sequence. But one thing that Bryan has as a superpower is he's a very talented DP, but he has an indie friendly sensibility, and I think you coming in and working with maybe less prepared or less knowledgeable directors, you're able to kind of bring in that expertise and really make sure and steer ships in a way that makes sure the coverage still exists. And I think that's, something that can be really commendable. I've worked with you on projects in a producerial sense where if you had not been the DP, I don't think there would have been a cut of a movie. And so that's something that I think is really amazing that you're able to do.
Is that when you call me up at night, you go, Bryan, I'm looking at the dailies and it looks like we jumped the line for this eye line.
Oh, well, that's something that that's something we will always have a fucking argument about, Bryan, because I don't like jumping the line and you just seem to not care about jumping the line.
No, I respect the line. I respect the line. There are moments where you got to go. You got to go far to go far. And sometimes you got to jump that line and you got to get that bit because it's going to matter.
It's just a random dialogue scene. And I'm like, why are we jumping the line here? It's just two people talking. It has nothing to do emotionally. They're talking about breakfast, and Bryan's like, I just like the shot better, dude. Okay. I think it's in between. Sometimes a DP does what's best for the shot versus,
Now, I think earlier in my career, I would do that. However, it is, you go to theaters and you throw on the streamers and you're watching this stuff and it may look beautiful, but if the story is not grabbing you, if the performances, if the movie itself is not grabbing you, I'm not into it.
Oh, I agree. The thing is the story and the performance is the first and most important thing. I mean, what gets more time, Mr. Kino Flo or Mr. De Niro? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like if Robert De Niro wants more time, you're giving it to him.
Robert DeKino. Maybe it's Robert DeKino.
Yeah, Robert DeKino.
Little 50-50 action of an idea.
But talk to him.
But like my thought process is I agree. Like, a lot of the things you can make a movie that can feel so simple in how it's shot. If it has a beautiful story and great performance. I mean, not to knock on the filmmaking of him, but look at Woody Allen. His movies are well written, like the earlier movies, well written, well acted, but I mean, it's not complex filmmaking that he's actually doing on the filmmaking end.
But it fits the story.
Exactly. It fits the story in the world.
I know we all three just worked on Complex Texas together, which was awesome because James actually was an actor in that as well.
Yeah, I did not enjoy being an actor.
James had things to do. Like James was like, "We should be done with this already." Like I
was just like, "Why am I still here? I signed up to be an actor to say one line. Why? It's 6 hours into the day. Why am I still sitting in this
6 lines?" And you want to hold a gun, and then you're like, "Oh, I should be wearing this. Someone driving this car."
And I loved your
We
reaction.
shot a whole short film on the side. Me and Brian will release it today. It's going to come up here.
Yeah.
But it's called James's Day Out. I'm just driving around sniping people. We didn't do any of that. That doesn't exist.
Well, I just
Play
remember,
the clip.
I just remember us all doing like a gun shootout scene with Kevin Dillon that was just a completely crazy thing. And then by the end, everybody's like, will it work? And I just hear Brian go, it's going to cut together. Everything's fine. Let's roll. Like we've got to move on to the thing.
You gotta trust that.
Well, and that, interestingly enough, that was the very first time I think I had to trust that, because every other time I've been at Video
Monitor,
Village at Monitor watching it, and I'd be like, no, we need this or we need that. But hearing you say, we got it, it's going to cut together, and I had seen nothing, I was like, okay, I believe that we have it and it cut together. That was a trust that I had to put there, because I didn't direct the movie. I was just producing and stupidly chose to act in an important scene. But but that was something where I had to put my faith in you as the DP and a collaborator of many years.
I appreciate that. I remember recently calling you to check in, you and Jared, about the edit, how it was coming along, and you gave me a couple little jabs of here and there, but you're like, no, we got it. It's great. It's in there.
Privately, I will mess with him, but publicly, I will praise him. Privately, I cry. Privately, we will always have a slight disagreement, because I wholeheartedly fully believe in the line and don't like to break it. And Brian's okay.
We're gonna play some clips at the break of some major Hollywood films that jump the line
right here
with intention.
And I've talked to my partner about it, and then other people too. I was curious, when we were on set for that particular movie, were you the one that dumped out like a bag of the Matchbox cars onto the ground to kind of work out how those scenes would need to go with all the car action?
DJ, that was me. I normally do not roll with 20 different variations of Matchbox cars.
That was my question.
But Hot Wheels. But
those residuals from Hot Seat were rolling in, and you were like, let me get all these Matchbox.
Get these ancient Matchbox
got to play
cars
with them, and we got to match up whose car was who. But here again, it was an
overhead to understand, in prep, me and you used to draw little overhead maps, so it makes sense creating an overhead, that makes sense to me.
Because you read that scene, and there was like 10 cars coming, he's getting out, he's going in here, they're in that car.
You have to visualize it, yeah.
Yeah, and so you're like, when we're moving cars around people and actors and things like that. And so we need to know specifically where people are going, where they're stopping, all the beats, and I think the toy cars helped.
It was it was
a very unique situation for me too, because it's one of those like where I was the producer, not the director, and I didn't want to step on the director's toes. So there was many times where I wanted to jump in because I felt I could help speed it up, but then I realized if I did, it would just slow it down. So I just did nothing and just was an actor. It was a weird position to be in as a filmmaker.
Growing, James, you're growing.
It was the most antsy. It was the most antsy I ever seen him. The whole time we're in the backseat. His legs
using
like,
Gus,
oh
who's
my.
my AD. We're using my DP, and then it's like all of my team, but not me as the director. And I was like, oh shit, I can speed this up.
You did a good job of letting go and trusting.
You
I did.
That's part of the process.
You did.
I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
The sequel comes out.
Yeah. But I'm joking, by the way. But by the way, for people who are listening to this that may not know what the line is, the 180 degrees, let's talk about the line. Explain the line as a DP to people, and also to me, so you could prove
let's
that you know
say here there's
is.
a scene between two people, you and I, and we're talking. So when we're going to shoot coverage with close-up of you, close-up of me, we're going to pick a side to be on. This is the 180 degree line right between your eyes and my eyes. So let's just say we are going to put the camera on this side. Okay, so your close-ups are going to be on this side, and you're always going to be looking from right to left.
So then I should always be looking from left to right when
looking. No, you're going to be looking from right to left.
And then you should always be looking from left to right.
And then we put the camera here on me. Yeah. I'm going to be looking from right
to left to right.
Yeah.
I'm looking right to left. You're looking left to right.
Correct.
So that when it cuts together, we're looking at each other.
Yes.
However,
he made some mistakes. There are times
about purpose
that you are allowed to jump, and you should jump
at a dramatic moment, maybe, or an intentional thing.
Yeah. And it can throw people off, and sometimes you can actually move the line as you're
something that Park Chan-wook loves to do. My favorite director.
Here's where it can get a little tricky for some people. Is that now we have a third character, okay, and sometimes you two are talking, and sometimes we're talking. And now we've got multiple eye lines going from left and the right. And so
that's what makes it difficult on a faster movie, because technically you should have two eye lines for each character, because this character looking to this character and this character looking to this character is separate eye lines.
And it all depends on how it's going to be cut.
Unless you position them or block them in a way where like a little bit deeper left is this person and a little bit deeper. Exactly.
I got it. Do they got it? You guys get that out there?
Maybe not.
Right.
But
Maybe
a
we'll put
little
a diagram.
right.
Part 2 coming.
But I mean, there's whole things. I mean, it's
Oh,
a
there's books
constant
written about the
conversation. Yeah, it's not like a little tiny
No, it's
thing. It's
a lot of water
giant,
cooler talk.
Yeah, it's a lot
The
of water
line.
cooler talk, which Scripty usually
You see how
panics
they
about.
jumped the line last night?
Yeah, see
Crazy.
how I jumped the line. What are you gonna jump the line?
Do you have a favorite shot at all that you've ever got to shoot in a movie?
And why was it in James's movie?
Mm-hmm.
It's the moments. It's not just the shots. It's the moments. You're working with wonderful people, and sometimes it's wonderful actors. And I get to sit front row, right there in the lens, and watch these performances and have it come alive. And that's like, we're all in this for storytelling, but sometimes I get to sit right there for the first time when it's happening together and see it come alive. And those things are what pop out as things that I remember. And that give me the goosebumps and make me want to keep coming back.
I guess I could reword it as like, is there a holy moly moment where you're on a set where you're like, holy moly, I'm on this set through those lenses watching this situation happen?
I was going to ask, is there an actor that you've worked with that like really kind of blew you away because you've worked with so many different people and seeing like that raw performance through your camera?
Well, recently, Kevin Dillon.
Yeah, Kevin's fantastic.
Kevin is such a hard worker.
This was your second or third?
This
with
was
him?
the second one.
Yeah.
We live near each other. I did see him in the CVS a couple years ago. The third time I was with him.
Oh, third time you worked with him in that CVS.
CVS. Got your prescription for it.
And it's a joy to work with him. He's excited about the material. He's excited about the scene. He gets everybody pumped up.
He's a great
got
number
ideas, and he brings it to another level. He brings the writing to another level. And so that was a joy coming in and seeing him, come out of the trailer and high five him. And we go right into this thing. And, this scene is going to have a gun. This scene is going to have no gun. And just, his comedic timing, and he pumps everybody up.
It's awesome. Yeah, he's super amazing. Like his spirit is great. We just had a podcast where we were all talking about him, another producer from Complex, Texas, where
he knows Kelly.
Yeah, with Kelly.
Yeah.
And Kelly was just absolutely amazing. And it was nice to talk about how awesome he was on set to everybody on set, no matter what role you had on set, even if he was not feeling well.
It's unique when the biggest actor and number one on the film is going around and making sure every actor, every crew member is
it doesn't happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a great trickle down effect of joy when that does happen. Everyone's on the same level. We're all human beings. We're all trying to get through this and make the most of this day and this project and this, everything. And so,
and he really loved that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a funny character. It was good.
Where did you grow up? Was it in LA? How did you really get started in wanting to do that?
I grew up in Michigan, just outside Detroit.
Ooh.
Where's that?
We're right around here.
Okay. And
We're right around here.
and my question about that before you go further, because I know this, Brian is a little bit of a foodie and he is very, very into pizzas. So I want to hear your rankings of LA pizzas.
Well, we could start with
Detroit style or
the Detroit style pizza.
Yeah.
In Detroit. It is traditionally a square pizza, and it came about in 1946. I think Buddy's Pizzeria was the original, and they would use blue pans that normally, because the auto industry would be in mechanic shops because it would be catching oil or for tools or things like that. And so someone had this kind of deep pan and started making pizza out of it.
So, but what's
Birthplace
the best, Detroit style pizza here in Los Angeles?
Because
I've never had a Detroit style pizza.
Well, then we're going to go out soon.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I am in the DPS, the Detroit Pizza Society out here in Los Angeles. And there's a small handful
do you watch
of us.
like the One Bite?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Portnoy.
Yeah, Portnoy's One Bite. Yeah, I somehow know, like, Instagram knows I want to watch those for some reason because I don't follow it, but it shows up in my feed constantly.
So we don't necessarily rank the pizzas. We go around and try as many as we can as a group and enjoy the moment.
Oh, wow.
And we've done about a dozen gatherings over the years. And sometimes we have guest appearances for non-Detroiters.
For non-Detroiters.
So maybe we get you guys out there.
Maybe I could get a little name on the list.
Yeah,
on
we'll
this
get you in.
But which one is your favorite?
James.
Who doesn't want? It's like
that.
whichever one I end up taking you to for your guest appearance.
We'll talk about your preferences and any allergies.
No allergies. No known allergies.
We're gonna go deep into the valley.
Deep.
And we're gonna find a deep dish.
Deep in the valley. Deep Dish Valley.
Deep dish.
When did you move out from Michigan?
I went to school in Ohio and studied finance and accounting. From there, I went down to Florida and was doing real estate.
Oh.
And I couldn't be caged up in a cubicle crunching numbers. Personally, I'm glad there's people out there that do that. Thank God. But that wasn't for me. And so I'd always been into movies growing up and photography. And I remember I was in a Barnes & Noble looking at the magazines, and there was a Movie Maker magazine. And it was either Filmmaker magazine or Movie Maker magazine, because they're both out there. Great magazines. There was a little flyer in there for it was called Action Cut filmmaking seminar. And I saw that it was happening in Florida in like a month. And so talked to my little brother. He came down and we both attended this 2-day seminar in like a conference room of like a Howard Johnson motel somewhere in Florida. And it was like fascinating, where this director, Guy Magar, he did some episodes of Sliders and The A-Team. I think he did some MASH. And he would break down scenes as a TV director, how they made them. This is a script. This is how we're doing it, and show this behind the scenes stuff. And it was just like fascinating, because like growing up in Michigan, I would just take movies for granted. You consume them, you love them, you watch them over and over and over, and you can't wait till the next movie comes out of the theater, and you go with your family and your friends and all that. But like to see that you can make them in this far off land in LA, Hollywood, was like, maybe that's what will get me going. And the rest is history.
Well, it's interesting because, you didn't want to say what your favorite pizza is, but then, when you talk about what got you into film, you talk about how you were just watching things and just letting them pass by you and not really savoring them. And when you mentioned,
I would savor them.
Well,
I would savor the movies.
But you're saying your favorite thing when you go with this pizza is to just live in that moment. And I think that's very interesting, because now you're more, it's not about ranking to you. It's about actually feeling the realness of each moment. I think that's kind of special. And that's maybe what gives a unique quality to each shot that you're doing. It's very focused on that moment and what's best for that moment in a story. You've done a lot in your life of collecting and gaining a lot of equipment. What made that conscious decision, to be like, you bought a bunch of cameras, you own a lot of stuff. When did you start deciding I'm going to just own this stuff?
Shortly after film school, I bought a Canon XL2 that took mini DV tapes, and I just started filming stuff. People weren't calling. I was calling them. And it was like I did some weddings. I would go do some interviews. I would do some music videos. I would just do anything where someone needed actors reels, whatever it was. I would just keep shooting and shooting and shooting. And then I was like, you know what? I need a light. And then I go get a light. And then I need this and that. And it took a while to build up to get into that stuff. 20-ish years later, yeah, I've got a bunch of gear,
ton of gear.
And it
a whole movie's worth of gear.
And it helps out on situations where we might not have the budget to get XYZ. And I think, well, we need that shot, or we need to get this somehow.
We didn't need any gear outside of you on Complex Texas, right? We literally only used your stuff, essentially.
No, but I think
they played a couple things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. Do you think that has strengthened your career in many ways? It's something you'd recommend to DPs, or is it something that just, you have, you just like having the toys to tinker with when you're not filming?
I like having the toys to tinker with, but I would say if I could go backwards, I don't think I would put that much time and energy into owning all the equipment. I mean, it's great when the industry is very healthy and booming, and rentals here and there and everything. But like, sometimes it would, it would kind of stifle some of my, creative choices, where it's like, well, we can do it on this lens because I got it, but we really should be using this, or
Yeah.
things like that. So there's a time and place, I think, to have gear, and it's great, and it's certainly helped me. Yeah, I mean, it's helped me get some work. Oh, Brian's got that stuff. Let's just get him on to shoot this short film this weekend, or things like that. So it's opened doors and allowed me to really work on my craft instead of waiting for an opportunity to get hired. I could just do it and just get with people I know that had other assets, and we come together and we make a film, or we're working on a documentary, whatever it is. So it certainly helped. But I can't say that it didn't hinder creativity along the way.
So it's not something you'd recommend to other DPs, like looking to break in.
I mean, you talk to not just DPs, but anyone in the industry. You talk to anyone, you talk to 20 people, and they're going to give you 20 different roadmaps of how they got to where they were.
Well, it's because the people that get to where they are take a unique route. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't
That's
just
the only way to
follow-
get
you can't just
anywhere
follow-
is
there is no
to
path.
be a
Yeah.
trailblazer and take a unique route. And I didn't know that I was going down a certain route, or I was just doing what I thought needed to be done.
Have you ever thought, because you own all this stuff, that you should create your own productions just from the beginning, like produce or direct your own stuff with the equipment you have? Because you could just make your own movie.
I do think about that, James, and we're looking for investors.
Yeah. You are? Yeah. You've thought about just like, hey, I'm just going to make, I have so
Absolutely.
much stuff. I'm just going to make it myself. I'm just going to do it
Absolutely.
and not wait for opportunity. I mean, I'm surprised you haven't done it sooner.
Well,
Is that something you would direct to, or no?
Yeah, I would. There's a handful of short films that I've been working on that I would like to get off the ground. Again, sometimes life gets really busy.
Of course.
And you got to kind of constantly work. But
Why a short over a feature? Because you can't really monetize a short.
sometimes it's not about monetization.
It is if you want investors.
I love to direct anything if it feels right. If it feels like I could do a feature, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Right now, I have some ideas for some short films that really feel like they're in my wheelhouse, and they're not going to be too big of a risk. Not that I'm saying it's good to not take risks, but like, let's be honest, sometimes it's a risk.
What is one of the craziest stories you have from the many dozens and dozens and dozens of sets you've been on?
There's a whole list of
One you're
stories that I
allowed
can't-
to say.
Well, I'd have to think about that. Here's a good one. I was thinking about that on the drive over. I was actually thinking about that outside of the door. I was locked out, changing into my tracksuit on the boulevard in my undies, and I was like, I better have some stories here.
That's a good one already.
Before I decide to move out here for film school, I had some friends that were into casting at the time. I think it was background casting. And so there was a movie that was needing background, and it was Soderbergh's The Good German. And it was a Universal picture. And this is like 2005, early 2006, something like that. I got the opportunity to be a U.S. Marine in the movie The Good German, which took place during and then just after World War II. And it was on the Universal lot. And I was so excited. I didn't know anything about sets, the process, nothing. I just finished reading because I got the job. I was like, I'm going to read this biography about Soderbergh. And I went down a whole rabbit hole watching all of his movies. And but the movie had Tobey Maguire, George Clooney, Kate Blanchett, Beau Bridges. I had a huge cast. And so as an extra, background extra, you're in this, and there was like, I don't know, 200 of us there. And we're all, we did like shave our heads and cut our hair, and we're all wearing the fatigues of a Marine in 1942. And, we're in a holding area. And well, I didn't know the rules. Okay. Everyone else seemed like they were seasoned background. I wasn't. And so I would actually kind of sneak out of the tent and kind of meander around the Universal lot, going through like, some of the sets where it's just like you walk the door and it's just like empty. There's just wood and lights, and you're just like, oh my God, this is fascinating. This is great, and I'd meander through. And then one day I remember I come across where it looks like they're filming. Oh, cool. I'm going to go watch the scene. I go out there. I'm wearing the helmet. I'm wearing the whole thing. And I walk out, and it's funny because I didn't know what was going on at the time. But looking back, it's hilarious. I go out and I'm standing next to probably the script supervisor, and there's a little monitor there, and Steven Soderbergh is right there. And there's three of us. And then there's a handful of people over there, which I now know was like Village and producers and all those people. And, I mean, I came out of like an empty like styrofoam building and just walked down, and George Clooney, Kate Blanchett are doing a scene. And I didn't think about sound or microphones or things like that. But I just kind of walked and I sat right there. I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I can't wait to tell my mom. This is so cool. And they'd yell cut, and then he'd go up and he'd talk to George Clooney, Kate Blanchett, and then he'd come back. And then one of the times he came back, he's eyeballing me, looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? And at the time, I got this big smile. I'm like, this is great. We're doing it, And in his head, he's probably thinking, like, I don't even have the energy to talk to this booger eater right now. And after I got done watching the scene, because they're doing a handful of takes and, moving in for what I now know is coverage, I got bored and I just went back to the tent,
And so nobody ever said, the fuck is this guy doing here?
No.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Because I didn't know. I just walked right out, stood there, and everyone probably thought, oh, that guy's probably going to be in the scene. Someone told him to stand there. The guy didn't just walk out of nowhere. But I did.
Did you do more acting after that?
No.
Well, you didn't whip out a phone or anything, so they weren't like, oh, get him out of there.
There was a time, because I was big into photography, and I had, I don't know what I had at the time.
A photo.
I did. No, listen, and I had like a telephoto lens, and no, this is a different day. Again, it was 3 weeks. It seemed
I thought
like
it was
eternity.
like while you're standing behind Soderbergh.
No, not
like,
there. Not there. I think before or after that moment, I had brought my camera to set, and in the tent, in my fatigues, I was going around and taking pictures of the set because I was excited. I did not know.
Yeah.
And I remember there was an AD who screamed at the top of his lungs, like 100 feet, what the fuck are you doing? And he kept yelling it, but I didn't know he was talking to me because everyone was kind of walking around. It was like lunch or something. And he came up and was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, what? I'm just like, oh, all right, put it away. He's like, no, come here. Who are you? What are you doing? And they wanted to look through and see the pictures. I deleted them all. And my buddy was there who was part of the casting. He's like, I'm so sorry. Won't happen again. He's harmless, And so, yes, I did whip out a camera and start taking photos.
Damn.
Yeah, but now that you're like a true professional, that it's even funnier looking back at that.
It is.
Right?
It is very funny looking back.
That's the way to 360 back around to that. Like, have you got to go shoot something else on your own as a cinematographer on the Universal lot?
You did, right? You didn't you do
I've been there a handful of times.
You did that one with Pete, I thought.
That was Paramount.
Oh, that was Paramount with Emil Hirsch, right?
That was Paramount. That was awesome. Inside Man. Working title was The Gemini Lounge with Danny A. But I'd been back to Universal, working on some commercials or promotional content for some bigger shows. But no, I have not gone back and used the gigantic World War II post-war parade scene that Soderbergh did with Clooney and Blanchett. I have not done that yet.
Well, now you can meander around the lot without anybody telling you shit, though. At this point,
exactly.
Going on
there will always be meandering.
Is there a genre that you like to shoot more than anything that you kind of get into as a cinematographer?
I love watching espionage, like just spy movies. I just think it's cool. I love it. I love the spy thrillers.
Have you done a spy thriller?
No, I haven't. But we're gonna do it.
Somebody book Brian for that spy movie.
What about you guys? What are some genres that you love?
I mean, I love,
maybe you haven't been on those movies or you haven't shot them yet. I'm just like, what was your guilty pleasure of a genre?
I really love,
other than erotic.
I love extremely violent horror movies, and I really love like noir, be it neo noir or like Darkness of Man was a really special movie for me because I got to really play in that noir space because it was like in my mind I was like, what if I could make a movie that was like, nowadays, but like, the Humphrey Bogart style movie, but in color, and add in some extreme violence and action. Like, what would that be? And that's what that movie was in my mind. So, like noir, neo noir, but just, I really focus less on genre and more like our lead character. If there's like a really intense storyline and character that I connect with, that's what really drives me. I like human stories about people that are trying to do their best, like ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances trying to do their best to hold themselves together while falling apart.
The journey of life.
For me, I love smart thriller. Like if it's a trick ending, something you'll watch the entire time to think it's going one direction and then it goes another direction. That's my favorite. I would love to do more of those. I would love to do a sci-fi movie of some sort of alien craziness. I think that would be fun. That's rare for some reason. Like, you just don't see a lot of like alien.
You need a lot of money for it.
I know it is a
or
high
else
budget
or
thing.
it feels very sci-fi channel.
Like Spielberg.
Should we start going full UFO now?
I mean,
We're
we
going to.
can.
Yeah, we're going
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we can segue into that because that Disclosure movie that Spielberg's got coming out looks fucking crazy. And that's so
the
much
more
money, like you talked
The
about.
more trailers I see about it, I think it's about being in a simulation.
I mean, I'm not sure where it goes.
I don't think
yeah.
I don't think it is I don't think it is aliens. I think it's, or maybe it is aliens and they put people in a simulation, but from the trailers, it definitely does not seem like. I thought it was like a full-on UFO movie. I think it's a completely different thing now.
I know it's releasing soon, but I don't know the movie because I do not watch trailers.
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm anti-trailer.
It's a very interesting thing. Like it'll be a crazy movie, I believe.
but what about UFOs in general, Brian? What are your thoughts?
I think they're out there.
You seen anything or no? Oh, that seems like a maybe.
There was a time in grade school where the yards that connected our yard with our neighbor behind us yard, and there's some woods and some trees, and we were going back and forth, Mark and I are out there. And there was a moment, and I swear this is all very true. We looked up, and there was something that looked like it was a couple hundred feet above us, and it was slow moving, and it looked like, I don't know, 30, 40 feet wide, and there were some lights. And I remember we were talking and being like, wow, look at that. Isn't that weird? And he was my neighbor. Cut to, I was already out here, and maybe 2008, 2009, he's down in Steel Beach. He moved out here too.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, I do some marketing, and I'm filming some stuff. Let's meet up. It'd be great to get together and film some stuff. Cool. Great. Just like old times. And that was early 90s, late 80s, early 90s with Mark. And we were hanging out, and within an hour, I was like, Mark? And I started, do you remember that time? He goes, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. And he's like, I remember that. And that was very weird. And it's like, we vividly remember it. However, it was like a moment where, is this really happening? What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow subtle enough where we didn't bring it up a whole lot when we were still neighbors. It just kind of happened, and we walked away from the moment, and then we brought it up years later. And so every now and then on Instagram, we'll send each other UFO sighting things. And
I get that. Like we've seen some stuff. My partner and I, we've both seen some things, and like you don't talk about it a lot. I mean, I have a couple of videos that are fucking crazy of some things that I finally was able to kind of just zoom in on. What it looks like on phone is completely different what it looks like through binoculars. Binoculars was the craziest shit ever. Staring at it, the phone can't pick it up. It's impossible. But then we just saw something here recently that was crazy. We're on the 28th floor of this building in San Francisco, and there's another apartment building that's a little bit higher than ours that we can see, and then it's open water. We were standing, we had all the windows open. We're just playing around, just fucking around, and we're watching some sports shit. And we look up, and I see this helicopter, what I think is a helicopter, coming from behind this building, and it stops. And I go, hey, James, like, look at this shit. And we look at it, and I was like, oh, it's not a helicopter. This thing is a full C. It's a C, like the letter C. You would think it would be a balloon, but it had lights inside the C. Like as if whatever did, it moves behind this building and then gone. Done. Never seen it again. And we both saw it, and like he's not really the UFO type person. So the fact that we both got binoculars, because we both have binoculars sitting there to look at this shit, we were like, this is some crazy machinery of some sort. And then it can just appear and disappear on its own. It's fucking
Weird.
nuts.
I don't think we really have time for the aliens to come down.
I mean, I think they already have. I think
so
they
too.
came a long, long time
I
ago.
know, but I don't think we have time to really.
Deal with it at the moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got to get people back to work post strikes.
Right.
We got to get people back to work post strikes. We don't got time for this.
We really do.
If they
I
do,
want to
maybe
see
they're
aliens
saving us.
movies. I want to see, like, don't you think they'd have some pretty cool espionage thrillers?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just don't probe me.
Or maybe probe. I don't know. It just depends on your type. I don't know.
Would the movies from alien societies jump the line though, or would they stay? Would they
Without
honor
question.
the line
Without
question?
Yeah. Maybe
So
they
what you're
shoot
saying
everything
is you
from
might
above.
actually be an alien among us, and that's why you're jumping the line.
Could be it.
There is no line in space and time.
No, there's not.
That's fucking crazy.
So, Brian, a little quirk that you have is you call everybody Klaus on set. Where did that come from?
Oh gosh, I knew this was coming. Back in the day, another one of my early jobs, I had some buddies that were producing a little indie film out in New York City. Rob Delp and Michael Herbert, and they're wonderful people, and they were great mentors at the time when I was, getting into film. And they said, Brian, we're doing this little film. Come out here. You'll be the intern. That sounds great. I'm there. Let's go. And so we're out there, and my last name is Koss. And at one point, we are watching Werner Herzog's Aguirre, Wrath of God. And a German actor that he would always work with is Klaus Kinski. And at the time, I had some crazy hair. It was blonde, and it was going all different directions. And we're watching it. I remember they paused it, and they look over, and they're like, "You look like Klaus." I'm like, "No, I don't." They're like, "Yeah, you do." And so they kept calling me Klaus. So Klaus, whatever. And so I go out to New York to meet them. I'm in the elevator going up into the production office, and I'm walking through, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey Klaus, how you doing? Hey Klaus, how you doing?" And I'm like, "No, it's Koss." And everyone kept calling me Klaus. I couldn't get around it. It was 6 weeks of being on the road, being called Klaus.
And so you've just been getting revenge on every set since then, calling everybody else Klaus.
So it stuck, and it was just kind of, it was fun. And so when I came back here, I started calling everybody else Klaus, just for fun. Don't know why. And then that kind of stuck. And so some of the crew members I've been working with over the years, we are all calling each other Klaus. And then again, these are people that are over on the East Coast or down in Georgia or here in LA. And some in Puerto Rico, and we're all calling each other Klaus. And so sometimes I'll be on a set, and I'll say, "Hey Klaus, why don't we da da da?" And it's like the hive mind. Like everyone, oh, he's talking to that Klaus. Oh, he's talking to that Klaus.
No, but I've heard you at behind Video Village be like, "Klaus, I need you to do this," and they'll say something, and you'll be like, "No, that was for the other Klaus."
Yeah, no, it's not bulletproof. But I mean, we're honing it in.
Yeah,
we're honing it in.
Yeah,
and
we're honing it in. It's about the inflection of where you oust it.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know if you have this, and I'm hoping you do because I don't have it. I was looking for it, but when we were making Survive the Game or Fortress, me and you thought it was very funny. Our production designer, Peter Cordova, we thought it was very funny to prank him with a prank call from there's a phone number, prankdial.com, where you could send a prank call that's pre-recorded.
It was an app.
Yeah. and
we're in these little
cubicles. Yeah.
We're in these little
in Puerto Rico.
You could almost like hear the other person in the room next to you. And like James and we've been on there for weeks, and we're prepping, and we're like, let's what can we do to Pete? Fuck with him. I think it was his birthday. We're like, let's fuck with Pete.
Yeah. And Pete is a very funny guy, fiery New Yorker. And so like him frustrated is hilarious.
And so we set the thing up on the app, and we're calling him, and it's this person that's like, it's like they start talking, and then they wait, and then the other person will start talking. So it's all pre-recorded.
Yeah.
But it's done in a cadence where you can easily get caught up in a conversation, and then they slightly cut you off, but it's like, it's so confusing, and it sounds so real. And so we did it to Pete about him hitting some guy's car. The guy was calling him and cussing him out, and Pete wasn't having it. And we're just like, biting our fingers. And Pete, he's at the end of it, he goes, lose this number, motherfucker.
He hangs up, and then he comes into our office, and he goes,
we're like, "Hey, what's up, Pete?"
We go, "What's up, Pete? We heard you yelling in the other room. What's good?" And he's like, "This motherfucker said that I hit his car, but I told him what was what." And he's like going on and on.
Because he kind of had a story where he was parking and like I wasn't near his car, and we're like, "Oh wow!" Like he really may have done something, and it's all coming out. And so I think we did a couple more pranks, and then he caught on.
Yeah, we did it like 5 more times before then we kept laughing every time, and then he realized that it was us. But we definitely pushed it further than we should have. I was hoping you had one of the recordings, because you did at one point.
I'll dig it up. It's in the files.
Oh, it's in the file. You'll have to play it next time.
We'll throw
next
that
time
up
you're on.
That would be awesome.
Oh, Pete.
Yeah, it was very funny.
I'm glad because you say the Klaus thing, because forever until we got you on the podcast, I was just like Bryan Koss. So I put an R in your name all the time.
It's okay.
Forever.
Keep doing it. It's,
And,
BJ, it's our good luck thing.
Yeah, I was like, Bryan
keep
Koss.
doing that.
I was like, wait, are y'all using Bryan Koss on this movie?
As weird as it sounds, Bryan Koss sounds like an espionage, like, you know, like you'd bring him in almost like a,
with a K.
almost like a, you know, what's his name? Jack Reacher. It's like a Bryan
Ooh,
Koss.
a Bryan Koss. Bryan Koss versus
3 seasons.
3 seasons.
On this season of Bryan Koss.
I thought it was forever. I was like, Bryan Koss. Yeah, I was like, yeah. And when I first, like, we had worked on some things together, but we had never been on set together in a weird way. Cause like on the workout, you had another job. So you were kind of in and out.
Oh, yeah.
on
You didn't
that.
shoot his scenes on the workout.
On the workout. We didn't
in the
meet.
hospital.
And then we were on another movie together. And I go, wait, I think I know you. Like, I think you did this movie. And Bryan goes, wait, are you on the text chain that never ends with me? And I'm like, correct. Like the workout chat. Because we were laughing. We were like, yes, that's how we know each other. Like we're on this chat together. It would be great.
It's only me. I like how they say someone. It's always me.
There's
about 16 people. I know about 3 of the numbers and the rest are just chiming in. But I don't want to be that guy that leaves the text thread.
Me neither.
Well, now the fact that this is the second time it's been brought up as the chat that will never end, I am going to leave the text thread.
No, don't do it.
Don't do it.
You're the only reason keeping us all together as this group of people, like still
and
talking.
Here's the thing.
On this
I don't have their numbers, but obviously it was a small crew. I know who all those people are if they were to say who they were.
Yeah.
It's more fun to be a mystery.
Me too. A few of them are mysteries to me too.
Before we run out of time here,
no, we're not running out of time. I put money in the meter. We're good. We're
Before we run out of time, let me ask you, what was it like approaching a movie like The Workout when we're dealing with, in some scenes, 15 cameras at the same time, all different types of camera?
Great question, James. And you have this ability to like think outside of the box. A lot of the projects you've been doing, maybe your whole life, but certainly lately since I've known you,
are inside the box. Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? But like, you're like, hey, we're gonna do this movie where it's a found footage movie, which we've all seen, but it's a found footage action movie. I'm like, oh, because you do action very well. And so I was like, let's do this. Let's talk about it. What do you like? How's this gonna work? And so, you know, you started pitching all these different ideas, and here's what would happen. And this actually room looks very familiar from some of the scenes now that I've been here. But how do I approach that?
Yeah, I mean,
you got to lean into it.
And the mixed media of it, and
that's part of the fun. I think some things are going to be crystal clear, some things are going to be wobbly from an iPhone, some things are going to be shoddy from a CCTV camera.
We definitely never listened to the line on that movie at all.
Well, we didn't, and that's why I thrived in that environment. But there was one shot, and I think you know
the Roomba shot.
James. That would have been the whole movie.
He really wanted a Roomba shot. I honestly should not have taken it.
Like a Roomba robot?
I should not have taken it from. If there's a sequel to The Workout, it will be.
It's going to be. I mean, there will be a spin-off.
It'll be full
about
Roomba.
the Roomba shot.
Yeah,
oh, that'd be.
He wanted to do a shot from a Roomba. I will say that it was fun, and I've talked about this before. One thing, approaching that movie with you when we were not only shot listing, but when we would go to locations, because some of the locations we were getting, because we didn't have a lot of money, like we weren't really having time to fully scout them. We were getting there and then shooting in them. One of the things that was really fun about it is it felt like me and you were like robbing a bank, because anytime we would go into any place,
didn't feel like it.
We were. Anytime we would go into any,
the pockets didn't feel like we were robbing anything.
Anytime we would go into any location, me and you would basically like scout the place and be like, where would a camera be? Like we were looking for like, where would a security camera be? What is there? Where would there be a TV over a computer over here that could have had a webcam? Like what can, and that's where we would place all our cameras. And that was different.
That was a different approach than what we normally do.
Yeah, and we did every single thing we did in the movie, or where we put our cameras, was the exact opposite of where we would have actually shot it if we were making a regular movie. And that's kind of the vibe that we went for.
And that was out of the box, and that was fun.
Yeah. It was definitely something different and unique. I think maybe freeing for both of us. And weirdly, I was talking about this with RJ. It's actually informed how I make my movies now since then, because I started shooting things a lot wider than I did before, because I really loved the wide scope of The Workout, because it made that movie feel so much bigger than what it was.
Mm-hmm. You got a lot of shots on Boris that are that wide shot things. You see a lot in it. Fucking fascinating. I didn't know that came from that.
Oh, Boris.
Mm-hmm. I know. I wish you would have been on that too. I'm just saying.
It would have been great to have him, but
I want that Bryan Koss.
that was
And that
not-
recently was at the Beverly Hills Film Fest.
It
Yes.
was, yeah. You missed that one, but you
Congratulations.
supported Doggy.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing you. But unfortunately, we are getting to the end of the podcast. Brian,
Seems like we just got
is there
to-
any advice you'd like to give to upstart filmmakers or DPs? And where can people find you on social media?
Bryan_Koss on Instagram.
You want to
Not
spell that
Kross.
because it's not normal?
BRYAN
There you go. Yeah, people would have done the other Brian.
_KOSS. The advice I would give to filmmakers, young or old, if they're just getting into it, is you got to go far to go far.
Swing for the fences.
No. You got to go far to go far.
Okay, yeah.
Or swing for the fences.
Yeah, or swing for the
Both.
fences on that.
A little bit of both.
Go for it.
A little
Yeah.
bit of
I
both.
like mine better.
I was corroborating. I was agreeing. All right. And what are you making in your air fryer tonight?
Do
Do you air fry?
Oh,
on a
he
regular?
loves air fryers.
Oh.
He sent me one as a wrap gift, and actually, usually during prep, he would just make little sausages, and during air frying, we'd have.
You got to
little
go
air
far to go
fryers.
far.
You just gotta
Yes.
bring
You gotta
your,
go far to go.
You're gonna bring your air fryer with you to set.
Sometimes we bring the air fryer to set. It
And yeah,
depends
and he
on
would,
the
and he
film,
would,
it
and
depends on the vibe.
Yeah, he would give me little snacks on
There
set.
was a moment, real quick, last story. There was a moment in Puerto Rico where day one with our good friend Bruce Willis, we were in a stage and we were shooting interior cabin, and I brought the air fryer and we'd gone to Costco and gotten some cracked pepper chicken sausages, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna whip some of these up. And I kept asking all the crew, it was like 8 a.m, and they're like, no, we're good. We're all set. We're working. We're not eating, air fried sausages. This is Bruce's first take. And right before he's about to say his line, you hear the oven go ding. And everyone looked at me and I was like,
Did
so
Bruce
don't-
any air fries though?
he still nailed the take. And I don't know if that take is in the movie, but he nailed that take. And we unplugged the air fryer
Oh.
after that one.
Yeah, because everything was already cooked by that point.
It was overcooked.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Good luck.
See you
Thanks,
next week.